We're going to get into something today that we all hear all the time. That's talking about transformation. The challenge with that is we hear it so often. What does it actually mean? Got a special guest here with me today. First question to her is going to be this, so we all understand. When we use the word transform, how can we help the common individual know what we're really talking about?
Yeah, so transformational is really about going from A to B, right? Starting in one place with a certain mindset, a certain set of beliefs and behaviors that you consequently act out with those beliefs, and then moving to a new place, a different place that you want to be at with a new mindset and new behaviors. And in that process of transformation, you're essentially becoming a newer version of yourself. It's like you're going from, for example, from Brian 1.0 to Brian 2.0 as you're adopting new beliefs, right?
And so it sounds like obviously as part of that, there is some new awareness, some things that need to be awakened. How do you go about that process of essentially getting someone to essentially step out of their own way and start to open up and learn more about themselves, especially those internal pieces, those generational things that may be passed down, some of the things that maybe happen from a trauma when they're younger? What are some of your processes to help with that?
Yeah, so I specialize in rapid transformational therapy as well as ancestral healing. So, with rapid transformational therapy, we work specifically with a person's subconscious mind. And in that, the person is guided into a trance like state where their mind is very relaxed and what we call alpha or theta brainwaves. And when they're in that state, they're more receptive to positive suggestions. They're also more open to becoming aware of past events that have caused trauma or, any kind of disharmony inside of them. So we first understand what those past events were and how they created the current issue they want to work on. And in terms of issues, it could really be anything. It could be anxiety, could be PTSD, or just something as simple as getting better at public speaking or relationships, confidence. And then once we understand, what those past events were that were causing that presenting issue, we then move into the reframe and the transformation. And the reframe is where we leave those past events behind. And then in the transformation is where we plant new positive suggestions. So the subconscious mind really soaks them in. Um, and then the client is usually given a recording to listen to for 21 days. So they listen to it every single day. So one of the rules of the mind is the mind learns through repetition. So the more you listen to something, the more it becomes second nature for your mind. So listening to that recording for 21 days really implants that new mindset in the client's mind. And then that is the process of transformation, right? Your beliefs are really what make up who you are, right? Your mindset, because your mindset results in your behaviors and how you interact with other people, and then the reaction you get from other people. So it's a whole feedback loop. And so that's one way that I help people is through the rapid transformational therapy. And then with ancestral healing, that's really where we look at intergenerational trauma.
Let me ask a question about when you talk about that type of healing and you're saying it's almost like a trance state. Is that using something like hypnosis or
Yeah.
what type of techniques or go into that?
Yeah, exactly. It's hypnosis.
Okay.
Yeah, so there is an induction that happens where we guide the client into rapid eye movement. And then once they're in rapid eye movement, that's when that trance starts coming on, where their mind slows down, their brain waves slow down, and they go into alpha, which is really a state of deep relaxation where your conscious mind isn't so active. because your conscious mind during the day is trying really hard to keep you safe. So when a person is fully relaxed, they're able to just tap into repressed memories that they don't have access to in day-to-day waking consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we do a hypnotic induction, and then we go straight into understanding what the core uh, reason is for their presenting issue.
Awesome.
Yeah,
How about you give our audience some of your background, how you got into this
yeah.
particular field?
So I've always enjoyed personal development. It was, I think, like at the age of 11, like I was listening to all these self-help podcasts and reading these books. So it's something I've always loved, the idea of transformation, like being a better version of yourself. It's just so exciting to me, right? Because you don't have to stay as one personality, as one mindset your entire life. I think life is about growth. Life is about discovering who you are and then creating yourself. Um, so so I think that path has kind of always been my path, and then I found rapid transformational therapy very synchronistically. um, and it just, everything felt really aligned, where I was like, this is, I want to pursue this, because not only did it help me in my own healing process, it also lets me help others now. And I think it's a really great tool. Both of these, the hypnosis and the ancestral healing, I think are really great holistic tools for understanding like what really makes your mindset up, and how you can change it, and how you can heal through even intergenerational things with that you notice in your family and culture.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Awesome. So let me ask this question. How can you tell if someone is going to be very responsive or very open? Is there assessments? Is there testing that you put them through to see if this is something that'll work for them?
So before we start the actual session, we have our intake call. Sometimes I call it a discovery call, but it's essentially the same thing, where I'm meeting a client for the first time. And I specifically ask them, how committed are you to transforming with regards to this specific issue? Because, and then I ask them to rate it on a scale of 1 to 10, because their level of commitment is really going to determine how well it's going to work for them, because everything is really belief and mindset,
Mm-hmm.
right? And in some spaces, they talk about the law of attraction and self-fulfilling prophecies. So it's like, whatever you think is going to happen, it usually happens because you create it with your beliefs, which then influence your actions, which then influence other people's responses. Um, so that's the main way, right? Is how ready is the person, how committed are they? And but in general, hypnosis works for everybody, because we naturally go into hypnosis several times a day. Like right before we fall asleep, our brain waves slow down. And anytime we're relaxing, when we're watching TV, or when our mind's kind of on autopilot, when we're doing chores around the house or driving home from
Yeah,
work.
you don't know how you got there. It's like,
Yeah,
I don't remember driving home, but I'm here. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's a very natural state. And in a session, what we do is we just intentionally guide the client into that state.
That's good that you put it that way because I'm sure there are a lot of people who can wait hypnosis.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, right? But you explaining that we naturally get into that state of mind anyway.
Yeah.
So you're really not taking them somewhere they're not used to going. It's just a matter of awareness
Yeah.
and how you actually get them into being comfortable with that. And I think that's what's really important. And
Yeah.
that's fascinating. The other question I have is this. Obviously, when you're working with clients, they start this transformational journey.
Mm-hmm.
And as you kind of walk through those steps of there's the acceptance piece and understanding where you are, what your beliefs are rooted in, you get past that to start having to change your actions,
Yeah.
how you show up to the
Mm-hmm.
world. What do you do to help coach them through that piece? Because what I've found with my coaching practice is when they start to become different, when they start to have some of that
Mm-hmm.
transformation, the world starts to treat them differently
Mm-hmm.
because the world is used to seeing them this way,
Yeah.
and now they've transformed to be more that way.
Yeah.
And sometimes that makes them very uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the techniques you use to just kind of help guide them and say, you are on the right path,
Mm-hmm.
stick with it?
Yeah, that's a great question because I see that as well. And so, because we work with the subconscious mind, what I actually notice with rapid transformational therapy, particularly, is that sometimes clients don't even notice that there is a difference because the change, the transformation is happening in their subconscious. So, they will often feel like they've always been this way. And then sometimes I have to point out, like, oh, like, you're doing this differently now. Like, when you came in, you said this was a problem, but you're different now. And sometimes they don't connect the dots because it happens on such a deep level because we're working with the subconscious. And then other times, if it is through coaching. So the way I look at it is coaching when the client is not in hypnosis, you're working with their conscious mind. Sometimes it also, trickles into the subconscious depending on what state the client is in at the moment. But when that happens, it's really about helping them recognize that they're becoming the person that they always wanted to be, the person that they started out the journey for, the journey of transformation. And usually, when a person transforms, the people around them, may not always resonate anymore. And in that case, um, I really encourage them to just notice how they're feeling around certain people. And it's not about labeling people as good or bad. It's just, how do I feel when I'm around them, right? Is it serving me? Is it helping me grow and continue to be who I want to be, or is it holding me back? um, and in that case, right, it's really about empowering the client to make their own decisions for what feels good for them. And usually when they transform, there's going to be new people that they're going to be attracting because they're becoming a new version of themselves. And in my opinion, everything's really about resonance, right? Sometimes we resonate with certain people because of what we're going through in life, what beliefs we have, mindset we have. And then sometimes when we outgrow it, we don't really connect with people the same anymore and we start attracting different people.
Absolutely. Oh, sorry, real quick. We'll get right back to the video, but I have a request from you. If you're getting value from this video, please click the subscribe button and also click like. And maybe even share this with some of your friends. Also, join our community by making a comment, sharing your thoughts, your experiences that are helping you to live, love, and lead your best possible life. That's it. Thanks for subscribing, and let's get back to the video. It's interesting to bring up resonance because we were just having a conversation before we started. We're here on Maui today. This is her
Mhm.
first time visiting Hawaii. So I was asking, what was the vibe? How were
Mhm.
the vibrations of it all?
Yeah.
Which is the same resonance that you're talking about.
Mhm.
And that's very true. When you start to transition or transform into a different being, essentially, you resonate at a different level,
Yeah.
right? And sometimes the level you're resonating at doesn't work for some of the old individuals in your
Mhm.
life. And as you
Yeah.
said, you attract this new circle of friends
Mhm.
or people that either are resonating at the same frequency or around the same frequency, or at least have a similar mindset about the journey and the development that you're
Yeah.
on. So I think that's an important piece of the awareness that we also need to make sure we teach
Mhm.
is to understand that everyone is not going to be able to go on this journey with you,
Yeah.
right? Because you will start to resonate at a different level.
Mhm.
You will see things differently than you've
Yeah.
ever seen before in your life.
Mhm.
And that will open up different doors that will attract other people towards you
Yeah.
that may surprise you. And so I think it's
Yeah.
a very important piece of it too.
It really is, yeah, especially with the ancestral healing. Personally, when I was going through I like to call it my initiation for this path, um, I just no longer resonated specifically with, family members, the way that things were done in the family culture. And that's actually if that's you listening to this, that's a really great mark that you are the generational pattern breaker. Because when you're the generational pattern breaker, a lot of times the way that things are done in your family, in your culture, it doesn't work for you, and you have a different way of doing things in mind. um, and then you're kind of known as the black sheep of the family.
Yeah,
So then when you start breaking away from that, there's you start your own personal journey, right? And it's really important there to feel empowered and have support, because I know there were a lot of times when I felt alone on that path, and then the guilt would seep in, right? It's like, am I doing something wrong because I'm not, in sync with the rest of my family and, the friends that I used to be close to? Um, but you really have to keep encouraging yourself and empowering yourself, because your path is for you to create, is for you to find. And you're going to meet so many new people along the way who are on a similar path, who are meant to support you and guide you. Um, and it's not that, you're not going to be in touch, or that you don't love, the old friends and old family, not old, your family, but you get to create a new family, with people who are really at the same frequency as you. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. I have a sign on my desk that says, "Life is not about finding yourself; it's about creating
Yeah.
yourself."
Yeah.
And I think that's very true. The challenge there too, and this is why I want to keep going back. I think a lot of people can relate 100% to what you're saying, and they probably also find themselves getting in this place of maybe feeling some guilt, like,
Mm-hmm.
why I'm starting to separate myself from my old family or friends, those old relationships that we're used to. I am cultivating new relationships, but there sometimes is this guilt or this transference of guilt that happens. How do you help coach people through that stage of it? Because that's also another big piece.
Yeah. So this is where I love using internal family systems, particularly. So this is a modality that works with the different parts of ourselves. So it's about recognizing that there can be a part of you that misses your family, or your old circle of friends, and at the same time, there can also be a part of you that doesn't want to spend as much time with them and wants to move forward with new adventures, new people. And it's about holding space for all of those feelings, all of those emotions, and um, really befriending those parts and harmonizing them. And, recognizing that I feel this guilt. And at the same time, I know that this is the path for me that I need to keep moving forward on, even though they don't get it and it feels like I don't have the support. I'm going to find the support as I keep going on this path, because there's so many people in the world, right? And you're bound to find people who resonate with you. And with specifically with the guilt, it's something that you really just have to embrace as you work through it emotionally. So yeah, that's really how I guide people through that, is just thinking of themselves as a puzzle with all these different puzzle pieces of emotions that make them up. Yeah, and it's also through feeling the emotion that it becomes less charged, because um, in our society, I think we're really taught to avoid heavy, difficult feelings. And in the work that I do, I'm very passionate about just being present and holding space for whatever it is that you're feeling, because it's not wrong. There's an intelligence in it. There's a reason it's coming up. So-called negative feelings like guilt, fear, anger, jealousy, resentment. There's a reason they're coming up, and if you keep avoiding them, they only get louder and stronger.
Very true.
So yeah, so it's about understanding what message there is in that feeling, what it's showing you, and embracing it, because when you do that, then you really move forward without the baggage.
100%.
Yeah.
So you brought up something in there, and I want to get some clarification, because we use the term holding space.
Mhm.
When you use that term, can you define a little bit more what that means, what that looks like, and how you go about making sure that your clients know what that is and how to go about doing that very thing is holding space? I think it's very important.
Yeah, holding space. I think it's wonderful to learn how to do it for yourself. And at the same time, it's also great to have someone else, like a coach or therapist, do it for you, especially when you're just starting out with working with your emotions. Um, because when you have a lot of emotions coming on very strongly, I think it helps to have someone at first do it for you. So, holding space is really about becoming centered and present, getting out of identifying with the emotion and getting into a space of just presence with it. In internal family systems, we have a term where we say it's being in the self, and the self is really who you really are. It's your authentic self. It's not an emotion. It's not a part of you. It's your full self that gets colored by the different feelings. Um, so, yeah, holding space is really about centering and being present with yourself and just noticing what that emotional charge is that you're feeling and where you're feeling it in your body, because emotions are really energies in our body. And when we identify which part of our body it's coming up in, it gives us additional context and information, right? Um, you think of an example, like, if for example, if I was to feel like a sinking feeling in my stomach as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to my heart, it's a different message, right?
Mm-hmm.
In my heart, it could be about someone that I love and care about, and maybe something happened to them. In my stomach, it's more about maybe an outcome that I had hoped for didn't happen, so it's more of a feeling of disappointment. So there's a lot of information and context we can get by really becoming aware of our body and just being present with ourselves.
Sorry, we'll get right back to the video in just a second. Just wanted to ask a quick question. What's stopping you from living, loving, and leading your best possible life? Do you feel disconnected, out of sync, unsure of really what it is you want to accomplish, what your true purpose is, and where you want to go with your future? Well, the ASCENT coaching program is here to help. We help you get in sync with your true beliefs, your true understanding, your true values. And from that, we help you transform from the inside out and move yourself towards the life you really want. If that sounds of interest to you, please click the link below. You can schedule a free, no obligation consultation where we'll simply get clear on the things you want to accomplish in life, maybe get a better understanding of why certain things haven't worked the way you feel that they should. And from there, we can move forward to help you become the best possible you can be. Let's get back to the video. One of the terms I use when we talk about that transformational journey is we you are in a state or a place of what I call your life adjusted self,
Mhm,
because you've had things that have happened in life, no matter whether it was younger in life or as you start your career or
mhm,
start a family or whatever else might go on in your individual journey, and you adjust and you adapt to those different situations for whatever the reasons may be.
mhm,
Some are just what they are, and some are necessary depending on the circumstance. But in that, you can lose touch with
yeah.
who you are,
Mhm,
and as far as being centered. One of the things I always talk about is getting, your emotional self,
mhm,
your spiritual self, your mental self, your physical self, kind of in alignment,
yeah.
because all that's really important. I think once you're able to do that, you really start to see yourself and also connect with the world. I think in a
Mhm,
little bit of different light,
yeah.
right? So,
Yeah.
it's one of the things that I believe you also talk about what you do
Mhm,
is getting everything centered. So, how about you share a little
yeah.
bit about that?
Sure. Yeah, I agree with everything you just said. It's um, a lot of the time we're operating from scripts
Yeah.
that we've learned, that got passed down intergenerationally from our parents to us, or things we've picked up from our peers in school, right? Um, so that really hides our true self. And the whole process of self discovery and transformation is first understanding, who am I really, right? what are my innate talents and gifts? What are my likes and dislikes? What are my preferences? And then from that place, you get to create who you want to be in the world. And we do it in an authentic way, right? It's not about putting on a mask. It's first, it's about peeling back all the masks that you've learned to put on, right, through the conditioning that happens in school, right, and in childhood, really in childhood. That's something I'm very passionate about, is because even our parents, right, and our families, like, we learn to not do things a certain way, not say things a certain way, because it upsets whoever it upsets, because
Right.
because yeah, because it's like we don't always understand the reason why things are said. It's just something that gets passed down, right? um, Not a lot of thought goes into it until that one person, the generational pattern breaker, stops and says, wait a minute, why do we do things
Why
this
do we
way?
do things
Yeah.
this way? Absolutely.
And so that's where the narrative, the script starts to change. um, yeah, so it's once you peel back all the layers to your true self, right, really asking the deep questions of, how do I want to do things, how do I want to show up in the world, who do I want to be, what contribution do I want to make? um, yeah, and then from that place you get to go out into the world and be that and create yourself, right, and then you start attracting people who resonate with that.
Yes, absolutely. It's interesting you said that about questioning, because as you said, there are a lot of times we just go with the flow.
Yeah.
This is the way it's been done. This is the way it's been done. This is the way it's been done. We're just gonna keep doing it that way.
Yeah.
And then, as you said, someone comes along, the black sheep, or
Yeah.
is a term that you use, and all of a sudden they start go, wait a minute, why
Yeah.
do we do it that way?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's another important piece that I want to touch on before we kind of wrap this up here in a few minutes, is that question of why. Understanding two sides of that too. Not only questioning the journey you've been on and why the behaviors and the beliefs and the different things are there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one piece. That's one why. But then the flip side of that same question though is, what's your personal why?
Yeah.
What is it you see for yourself? What do you feel is lacking in your life? Why do you feel it might be lacking? What do you want to achieve?
Mm-hmm.
Where do you want to get to? What are the possibilities? But just starting to ask and try to find the answers to all these questions.
Yeah.
And I think that's why a lot of people in life find themselves sometimes in this place of just frustration, because they know that they have these questions,
Mm-hmm.
but the commitment, and that's what you talked about earlier, how committed are you to step forward,
Yeah.
put in the work, and
Mm-hmm.
stay committed to finding the answers for yourself
Yeah.
is a key part of it. So, how about you share a little bit about that? Because I think that's important, the commitment piece and answering your own whys, whatever they might be.
Yeah, the commitment to self, it's really how much do you value yourself, right? And your transformation. Um, there's a lot of weight and pressure that's put on by society, right? By partnerships, by family. And it really requires a degree of strength to be able to acknowledge all of that and still choose yourself, choose what's right for you. And I think that's sort of the tipping point where a lot of people will fall back, right, into those old patterns and kind of give in to the status quo, because they haven't found that courage inside of themselves to step up and say, I am going to commit to this journey for myself, because I know that through it, not only am I going to transform, but at the end of it, I'm also going to be a better version of myself that's going to turn around and help other people do the same.
Yeah.
So it's really about seeing that long term vision and picture, right? And having that strength and courage to commit to that for yourself. Because at the end of the day, it's not just for yourself, because whoever you become, it impacts everybody else around you.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely does. So interesting you bring this up too, because one of the foundational pieces that I talk about a lot is it's a journey. It's
Mm-hmm.
not a destination, right?
Yeah.
And getting people to understand at the very beginning of this, it's not like we're going to reach this point and
Mm-hmm.
all right, we're done,
Yeah.
right? It really doesn't work with that because, especially I think once you open up your mind and really start to get focused to what you just talked about, what are your whys? What are your destinations? What do you want to accomplish? You start to see that there is not a limit to that. It's really limitless. And so you reach this, you go, hey, I got here. What's the
Yeah,
next thing? I got here. What's the next thing? And that's
right.
okay. One of the things we always talk about is if you're in a room with a group of people and you find that you are quote unquote the smartest person in the
Yeah.
room, it's time to find a new room, right?
Yeah.
You want to continue to
Yeah.
elevate. You want to continue to challenge yourself. What do you use, or what techniques within your coaching philosophies do you use to help keep people motivated so that they don't get complacent? I guess is probably the best word.
Yeah, that's a great question. So, to keep people motivated, I think, first of all, it's natural for new desires and visions to arise when you kind of hit that upper ceiling, right? When you want one thing, it opens up so many other possibilities for things that you want and, um, a version of yourself that you desire to be. Um, but I think when someone gets really comfortable in that place where they're at, it's about understanding, well, what is my next stage, right? What are my new desires? Who else can I be? Can I take this to a larger level, what I'm doing right now, right? How can I maybe impact more people with it? Or how can I incorporate other tools and strategies into what I'm already sharing or how I'm showing up, right? um, and I honestly think when a person has that momentum, right, and when they've committed, it's natural for new desires to unfold. Um, and it's just a continuous journey from that point of being committed and following the thread wherever it's taking you.
I agree. I agree because again, once you set that, I guess, mindset in motion, right? That growth mindset, that challenge myself,
Mhm.
that be the best I can be mindset. Yeah, I think it does drive you. I think it,
Yeah.
in some ways, is its own engine
Hmm.
of continuing to move you forward.
Yeah.
I think that's a very important piece of it.
Hmm.
So, last question, and I always do this kind of at the end, and it's what I call a final thought.
Yeah.
So, from your chair, from your
Mm.
perspective, the experiences you've had with different clients, what would you want to leave our audience with as like your final thought as to what you see and what you do that can really benefit and help them, that they can just take away and kind of go, and really get them to thinking about maybe taking some action.
Yeah. So, my final message would be that you listening to this right now, you matter, your life matters, and how you show up matters. And if there's something you've been considering when it comes to, that next leveling up for yourself, do it. um, invest in coaching, invest in self-help groups, because it is really going to take you places that you could have only imagined. um, and it's definitely a journey that's worth it. I think it's kind of it's kind of overrated to stay the same throughout your whole life, right? Like you got to change. You got to change throughout your whole life. Change is inevitable. So, and if you felt like you are the black sheep or the generational pattern breaker, consider ancestral healing. Trust me, like you're not going to be the same person at the end of it.
Right? Right. So thanks for sharing that. And I think that what you shared is absolutely right. Wanting to grow, continuing to grow, and evolve, I think feeds you in a certain way. So I think it's a
Yeah.
great message to share with our audience. How will we connect with you? If someone out there wants to connect with you, maybe take a part of some of your programs, learn more about the healing processes that you go through, how would they reach you?
Yeah, so you can visit my website. It's thedivinerose.com, and it has hyphen, so it's the hyphen divine hyphen rose.com. And I have a few interest forms set up there if you're interested in inner child healing, ancestral healing, or divine feminine embodiment. There's many different avenues for coming into this work, but they all lead to a similar path. where we really go deep in understanding, your core wounds, and then working through healing those to help you become a better, bigger version of yourself. So I encourage you, if you're interested, to fill out those interest forms. Anyone will do, and then from there you can schedule a complimentary 30-minute breakthrough session with me, where we're going to dig specifically into your core wounds. And you're going to walk away from that session having a much better understanding of who you've been so far and where you desire to go that feels really authentic for you. And yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. This has been fabulous. Thank you for taking the time. Welcome to Maui.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your visit here. And
Thank you, Paul.
again, outstanding for sharing your wisdom, your knowledge, your experience with the audience. And there was a lot that I think that they can benefit from. So,
yeah, well, thank you so much for having me, Brian. This was great. I'm so glad we were able to do this.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Aloha.
Aloha.
All right.